In memoriam, Dr. Vacio Crenshaw Daly, and Dean of the College of Liberal Arts, Dr. Patricia Witherspoon.
Live testing this equipment to see if it works. If you can see me and not just hear me, you can see TD Jakes in the back. I'll watch that in the morning to get my head right, get my spirit right. Because these devils, they be after you. So I'm opening my phone right now to start off with a preface to this podcast. And so each morning, I listen to my writings because I'm working on a book.
Frontier in American History 1900 to 1930. Timothy Eugene Nelson. Preface. Black Dome was a real place. I have to make this fact clear because my brother Maison Nelson thought I made it up. No lie. Maison, pronounced Mason, recorded my doctoral graduation. He flew all the way from the Air Force Base, where he was stationed in Las Vegas, Nevada, to El Paso, Texas. He took pictures with me holding my University of Texas at El Paso mock diploma. Still, after not seeing him for about 5 years, his question was, when you gone make some money? I graduated with a PhD in Borderland History on December 10, 2015, with subfield expertise in African diasporic studies and U.S. history. In 2019, I accepted a seat on a panel at the National Conference for the Western History Association in Las Vegas, Nevada, at the Westgate Vegas Resort and Casino, near the Vegas Strip. Dr. Kenneth Hamilton was on the panel, and I could not pass up the chance to meet him in person. Unknown to Dr. Hamilton, he had become an intellectual father to the Black Dome thesis, and all-around icon for me. Maison drove from his house on the north side of Vegas. At first sight, when you gone make some money? Forgive me for belaboring the point, but Black Dome was a real place. Audible to the people sitting around Maison in the conference room of my panel, he said, "Oh, I thought he made that up." Table of contents. Preface.
So, I still don't know why my brother thought I made it up or how he didn't figure out that I didn't make it up. He went to my graduation. He took pictures. He spoke to my dissertation chair, and he's even in the video that I show at the end of this broadcast. He's screaming in the video. So if he thought I made it up, and it being Blackdom, or I think that's what he was talking about. I assume he's talking about Blackdom. I can't imagine Blackdom being made up. But anyway, it's why I begin all of my presentations with Blackdom was a real place, because we're beginning a new era where you can't assume people know anything about what you're talking about, because there's so much information and so little being given in school. So Blackdom was a real place. And it came from an inherited idea, that idea of sovereignty, of liberation. It comes from the 1700s. You know, Prince Hall Freemasonry began in I could Google it, but like 1780s, I think. And it was also synchronized with the AME Church. I assume Bishop T.D. Jakes is a part of it. force field. They are the ozone layer of the whole Afro frontier, because violence. I mean, you have to meet violence with violence in frontier spaces. So it's best to have a protective force. So you have the spiritual, the connection between the physical person, spirit, and God. So you have church. So you have black ministers. You have the connection between the calculation of God, or the analytics, the scaffolding, the stuff of God, the sacred math of God being perpetuated with black Freemasons. And then you have the black military. And so those three consciousnesses, those three institutions, those three merge and create what I call an intersection.
A small town once lived here, in the wide open spaces of opportunity.
Intersectional blackness. While blackdom was a real place, black is not real as a race. It's a consciousness. It's a consciousness of the condition of blackness. So when you say, or when I say I'm black, it's because I live under a condition of blackness created by this. You can call it capitalism, you can call it white supremacy, it doesn't matter. The consequence is that I am black. And I just got your device will restart to update outside the app. Okay, all right. So I thought my computer's about to start updating. Okay, where was I? Intersectional blackness. We'll talk a lot about this later as the Blackdom Renaissance podcast goes on. I want you now to give me a moment while I cue this video. I'm getting used to this equipment. And I want to introduce you to how this all started.
The Ataraxia Project, or Project.
The Doñana County Sheriff's Department developed a law enforcement use of force class for the community after seeing that many were unaware what was proper procedure for using force.
There's tons of misconceptions out there. Unfortunately, a lot of people get their information from non-reliable sources, from Hollywood, and so.
The Ataraxia Project. During my PhD time, or my time as a doctoral student, and it was a whole decade. I realized there was no place for me in academia. Or no, let me not say that, because I don't want to, curse myself. But I knew that academia wasn't easily gonna be a place where that was accepting of my work. Is that fair? I guess so. So I started my own institution. It's not really about him, but just YouTube, the power of social media.
How you doing?
Tremendous.
This kind of
I'm
stuff
good.
lives.
The reason why I'm stopping is you got that thing attached to the
Getting my
windshield. You can't
PhD.
attach to the windshield, okay?
Oh, my bad.
So when you get stopped by the police, you gotta pull them right away. You can't
Okay.
Uh,
All right.
About
So, what do you need?
see your license.
got my car.
Okay.
Where you from?
Where am I from? I'm from California.
Okay. So since you're not from Arizona, I'm just gonna give you a warning, okay?
Okay.
You can't have anything attached to the windshield
So
below.
I'm just now
See
waking
where
up.
the thing is mounted right there?
Yeah.
You can have it mounted up here. It's not in your view.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
And
No
so,
big deals, right? You want to get you
where
out here,
was I?
right?
Okay. All right.
We
So,
want to have that. They have
Intersectional blackness. Okay, so I'll just go back there. Intersectional blackness is not a definable term. It happens when it happens. It happens when you get people who are conscious of the condition and meeting that condition with a unification. So it's like it's a space created by the condition, but by the people who are under the condition, and I don't know if necessarily you have to do something about that condition, but you're united because of that one. So it could be anything from cowboys, black cowboys in the frontier. Well, that space is created by black folks who have to then go through a process of becoming, or they're born there, depending on which story you're talking about. So blackness is the condition on top of the living. So that doesn't really define it, and I'm not trying to define it as much now because I'd like more of a discussion about intersectional blackness. But that's where you get the core of the Blackdom thesis and the point of the Blackdom Renaissance podcast. It is a resurrection of the intersection between ministers, military men, and black Freemasons. Why those three? And why seemingly all male? There are, for Prince Hall Freemasonry, there are auxiliary groups that include women, the Negro Order of the Eastern Star, I believe, is the auxiliary group that Ella Boyer, for example, was a part of, and Frank Boyer was a Prince Hall Freemason. He was and I can look it up. I don't really keep all these things in my head. If there's a book, I could look at it, but other than that, I don't want to bother myself with all those small but important facts. Because I could Google it, right? My phone is in front of me. So yeah, so that triad, that revolutionary triad of ministers, military men, and black Freemasons came to New Mexico and colonized. Black colonizers. Are you ready to discuss how black people colonized? We talk colonizer decolonization. But what do you do when you are a brownish person under a black condition? Right? Brownish person from the physical look. What do you do?
Recipient of the Doctor of Philosophy degree in Borderlands History, Timothy E. Nelson, will be hooded by Dr. Jeffrey Shepard, in memoriam Dr. Maceo Crenshaw Daly, and Dean of the College of Liberal Arts, Dr. Patricia Witherspoon.
Okay. All right. Testing. Okay, take one.
Blackdom. The significance of the Afro frontier in American history 1900 to 1930. Timothy Eugene Nelson. Preface. Blackdom was a real place. I have to make this fact clear because my brother Maison Nelson thought I made it up.
No lie. My brother thought I made it up. So as I'm testing all of the recording equipment, and I'm gonna start off by talking about my brother thought I made it up. Because so much history has been left behind, and a lot of us don't know that history, so I have to catch us up. So I began all the way in the 1700s, but really, this is a 1519 project. You heard it here first. It's a 1519 project. Going back to Juan Garrido, who settled in Mexico. He was his birth name wasn't Juan, because he was born in West Africa, or no, Congo, something to that effect, as a Muslim. Excuse me, as a follower of Islam. He then went to Portugal, that's where he became Juan in the late 1490s, like, around Columbus 1492, around that time. And then he hitched a ride, a boat, and then he helped to seize what is now known as Puerto Rico and Cuba. I think he was in on that. And Tenochtitlan. I don't know if I said that one right, but y'all who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna work on my language too while I'm in front of this mic. So yeah, Juan, he was he finally retired from his military service and genocidal campaigns against indigenous peoples on what we call now the North American continent and South America, but just North right now. The Spanish crown grants him land and basically a fiefdom, and he became a sovereign in, quote, the New World as a conquistador. And this is 1519. So that's where the 1519 project stems from, where it emanates from that kind of history. So this is a different kind of podcast about black people. It is a project that is diasporic in nature, and blackness is a condition, and blackdom is a real place. Don't forget to buy a shirt. So I'm gonna stand up now because I'm sitting and trying to be comfortable, but I want you to see the shirt because you need to buy one. Okay. And then just go on the website and see it. But so what is this podcast about? Is it just about blackdom? Is it just about the Afro frontier? I don't know. Sometimes it might be about current events related to history, though. It's always going to be about the history. And black folks 100 years ago, generally speaking, and the black folks of 100 years ago ain't no different than us now, except they were better than us. They were better than us in so many different ways that we should just go ahead and lionize our ancestors, even the ones that didn't do us proud. Because for most of our existence, and let me just say most, because we're also talking here the 1519 Project, most of our existence on the North American, the so-called North American continent, there has been an opposition force that has muted the colonizer within us, or the sovereigns within us. Now, sovereigns are not necessarily always colonizers, but in this case, they go together. So as we get used to these terms, black colonizers, Prince Hall Freemasons, military, so Buffalo Soldiers in this case, because we're talking about the turn of the 20th century and the New Mexico territory, and ministers, we can easily put them in. I want you to understand the trajectory goes all the way back. All the way back, 1500s, when the first wave invasion of indigenous lands started, with black folks at the tip of the spear, like Juan Garrido. That's what this is about. That us bridging some gaps, because not all of us can go to college. Definitely, the vast majority of us can't afford it. I still can't afford it, and I went. Anyway, we'll get to that too. In the meantime, yeah, go buy a shirt, buy a cup, because this shit is about to get legendary. I plan on learning how to do this right and making it worth your time, because a lot of people competing for your time. I want to make sure that when you're in here in the Blackdom Renaissance, you get a clear understanding of the history and how it relates to you right now and what you can get from it. It's kind of like a minister in that way, but only I'm a teacher, not a minister. Like in the way the Bible doesn't get old, you can always go back, is the same way that I treat my dissertation. Not necessarily like it's a Bible, but it's it brings me to core ideas that were never finished. My dissertation was finished, but the ideas were never finished. And so the rest of this is a ongoing development, the composting of it, the maturing of it. A lot of it is happening in real time and has been since 2015. What else? We got about 3 more minutes for this 30-minute broadcast. I can keep talking forever. I just want to make sure I covered all of these bases. So, to recap, black ministers, military men, and Freemasons, and the inclusion at the intersection of that is black people, black folks.
Oh, you think you're better than me?
I have the honor to
You think
present
you're better
two
than me?
candidates for the degree Doctor of Philosophy. To the candidates for the degree of
Good evening. Tonight, we go after the story of an extraordinary personality. He's Salvador Dali, the great surrealist painter, who sees the world through surrealist eyes. If you're curious to hear Salvador Dali talk about decadence, death, and immortality, about his surrealist art, his
Proclamation, also known as Dunmore's emancipation.
we'll go after those stories in just a moment.
Take all the water with it and not leave any behind.
Flippers command.
Black nationalism, which means that the black man should control the politics of his own community and control the politicians who are in his own community.
We must also realize that the problems of racial injustice and economic injustice cannot be solved
We'll talk with Salvador
without
Dali in just
a radical redistribution of political and economic power.
There's this myth that black people did not resist until Watts or until Malcolm or until the Black Panther Party. It's just not true. The first thing that the Black Panther Party did, of course, in Oakland was to patrol the community, to set up an armed patrol in order to ensure that black people were not harassed and intimidated by the local police department. But that had been done in the South. It was done in Birmingham. My father participated in armed patrols because they had to protect the community. They'd get out there.
change to recessed smoking because now Parliament with the recessed filter is best. The new Hi-Fi Parliament. And here's why. First, Parliament is best because only Parliament can give you over 30,000 traps. No other popular cigarette delivers less nicotine and tar. Second, unlike ordinary filters, Parliament's filter is recessed, set deep down inside here, so that trapped nicotine and tar can't get on your lips. And third, because it's recessed, there's no bitter taste of trapped nicotine and tar to spoil Parliament's pure tobacco flavor. It's a clean, satisfying smoke. And remember, Parliament is continuously tested and reported by the United States Testing Company, one of the world's leading independent testing laboratories. Over 30,000 traps, exclusive recessed filter, flavor pure protection. Yes, smoke the best. Hi-Fi Parliament, now at popular price. And now to our story.
Big 98.
Until it does. So instead of doing it one at a time.
The Rastaman redemption, but when the two seas clash, that's when the plane land. King of all kings touched down in Kingston. Would you believe so said so done, Busta Man?